So, as you all know, the Day of Freedom happened. Now, for those of you who don't know what this was basically a massive free speech event organised by Tommy Robinson with the likes of Sargon of Akkad, Milo Yiannopoulos, Martin McGuinness, or McGannis, I can't remember how you say his name now. But yeah, basically a whole bunch of right-wing assholes who basically were saying, oh, our freedom of speech is dramatically under threat, yet somehow, because, remember, this is their claim, that their freedom of speech is so under threat, they were managed and were able to, remember, their freedom of speech is under threat, that they were able to organise a demonstration about freedom of speech. Now, what happened at this was, of course, typical of, shall I say, Mr. Robinson's actions, because these actions become highly suspect. I'm glad to talk about a guy called Mohammed Hijab, and I'll leave a link down below so you can see the full video of what happens. Now, I don't agree with what this guy says. I'm an atheist, but freedom of speech, he has every right to say what he wants to say. So, he was invited to speak at this event by one of the organisers. He was even on the list of speakers to speak. The problem was that Tommy Robinson decided to block his freedom of speech. And suspiciously, when he arrived, when he first got there, he was denied access. And very quickly what happened was, you can see this in the video, was that he was then very quickly surrounded by a lot of Robinson supporters. And basically, not only was he, well, two of them were basically surrounded, they were started being chanted at, basically being called paedophiles, because that's what Robinson's MO is. You basically convince all these idiots that every single Muslim male is a paedophile. And of course, well, this is what it leads to. These two guys were then attacked by these people, and there you have basically the right showing how committed they are to freedom of speech. It's only the freedom of speech to people they like, not if you don't have anything to say against them or they just don't like what you have to say. This isn't something the right should be particularly proud of. In fact, I have seen very little people talking about this beyond this incident. But this is important because these guys are such free speech champions that they denied this guy's right to free speech. He was invited to the event and then blocked by one of the other organisers, Tommy Robinson, the guy who remember, his whole genesis of this was because he was kicked off Twitter. Now, such a loss of freedom of speech. How dare, Twitter have rules and standards? How dare it be a private company that is actually allowed to do what it wants, which the right makes that argument all the time, but apparently, again, only to people when it likes is this a problem. So yeah, Day of Freedom of Speech, exactly what I expected it to be. It was basically a stealth bashing of pretty much every, underlying racist tension you can possibly think of, because all these people are just not equipped to have a nuanced conversation about Islam and it not slip into blatant, bigotry or racism. And that's just the truth. And these people can say they're not racist or they're not bigoted all they want, but I have yet to see these people show that they aren't. And like I said, I'll leave a link down to below, but yeah, Day of Freedom, it was not. It was basically the freedom of one guy called Tommy Robinson to basically massage his bruised ego. This was not a freedom of speech, and I know someone's going to bring up, oh, but you're supportive of the Count Dankula verdict. Yes, I am, and I've explained that in those other videos why I am. So if you want to, talk to me about that, go watch those videos. That's my opinion. My opinion of the guy basically has not changed. And just to sum up those videos, I said it a long time ago. Sooner or later, some shit poster is going to get in trouble legally, and it will be their own fault. And it was Dankula's own fault. I'm sorry if you don't think that way. It has not made any landmark decision. We are not any less free than we are now. Freedom of speech is still a thing because that was what the prosecution had to take in regard to when they were took him to trial, and they proved that his freedom of speech was not an issue in this case. Now, but anyway, again, go watch that video because I don't want to repeat myself here. So yeah, Day of Freedom, more like the Day of Tommy Robinson, and just like Charlottesville, this needs more attention. You know, these right-wing idiots are going to do something stupid. You had one guy in the video said, "I'm a Christian soldier, I'm ready to die." You know, and people are worried about Muslim fundamental extremists. Why are you not worried about that guy that's saying that? Yeah. There you go. And one of the things that I think is highly suspicious is when they first arrived, there was no crowd surrounding them or anything like that. But once they'd been blocked access and they'd been there waiting for a while, then mysteriously all these guys turn up and start surrounding them. How did that happen? Who gave that order? Now, I don't want to say Tommy Robinson, but I suspect it's Tommy Robinson because I suspect he didn't want that guy here. Because after all, that you remember, the guy, Muslim Hijab, was invited. He has the emails to prove he was invited and everything. So, take that as you will, guys. You know, because this is the right-wing playbook. They play victims, which they are now. You know, oh, my freedom of speech. No one has taken away your freedom of speech. You know, or else you wouldn't. Look, if your freedom of speech was under threat, you wouldn't have been able to host that massive rally. The government would have stopped you. It's that simple. But there you go. The right wing basically playing at a victim, and then when the abuse actually happens to someone, because it's someone they don't like or they agree with, well then it's fine and it's, you know, quickly brushed under the rug. But if it's someone they do like, well then it's the biggest issue since sliced bread.